All right, let's move it along. We have a little camp battle going on. Jacob, we got a battle at left tackle. And man, you guys know how I feel about position battles, competition. It drove me absolutely insane that it was just like we refused to bring in centers to compete with Josh Myers. It's just like, no, he's the starting center. He's the starting center. And now we find out that ELGTON Jenkins was telling the coaching staff last year, hey, let me play center. Let me play center so we can get this thing straightened out, right? And that's a bad look. If ELGTON Jenkins thought that, other people on that offense thought the same thing, even though I think Josh Myers was a good teammate. Now, ELGTON is now moved to center, right? And we haven't been able to see this battle for left tackle yet early in camp. Reason being is because ELGTON's been out, and you had Jordan Morgan having to play right guard while Sean Ryan filled in, obviously at center. So now that Sean Ryan is back to right guard, we have ELGTON Jenkins in the center position. So now Jordan Morgan's a little more freed up to compete with Rasheed Walker at the left tackle position. So we just combed through a bunch of tweets, combed through a bunch of news to try to get some information on this left tackle battle here. So let's just dive into it. Jordan Morgan's role and background. Morgan, a first-round pick, has spent more time at guard than tackle so far, not due to performance issues, but because of injuries to other linemen creating openings at interior positions. His natural position is left tackle, where he played 2,392 of 2,404 college snaps at Arizona per PFF data. Morgan feels more comfortable at left tackle due to his extensive experience there. Key strengths include athleticism and ability to redirect pass rushers in space, which could set him apart in the competition. So the thing that sticks out to me, Jacob, is when you look at Rasheed Walker at left tackle, right? And what does he do well? He's a great pass blocker. Not so good in the run blocking category, right? Well, Jordan Morgan hasn't been on the field enough because of his injury he faced his rookie year to really see, is he going to be an upgrade over Rasheed Walker? So what I'm simply saying is, I'm not saying Jordan Morgan needs to start over Rasheed Walker. What I don't understand are the people who are anti a camp battle at left tackle. Why not see who's the better left tackle? It's only going to make Rasheed Walker raise his game up, and it's also going to give Jordan Morgan a little bit of experience of what it's like to be thrown into the fire, as opposed to, hey, you're going to be rotating at right guard all year with Sean Ryan like they did before he got hurt and before Jordan Morgan got hurt. So I love this idea of, hey, let's throw him right into that camp battle and try to get the best out of both of those players. How do you see that, man?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, obviously, if I would have had my way, I would have had Morgan coming in as a first-round pick and just absolutely blowing the socks off everybody, getting an immediate role. But I believe it was like Weston Hodquist on one of his latest podcasts was saying, on a lot of teams, if you spent that kind of draft capital, like on the first and second round with Belton, that they would have to plug them in right away. And what a luxury it is, the fact that the Packers have the option to get a guy like Walker to maybe play, even a guy like Ryan to maybe play. And then they can ease them in, and they actually can kind of flirt with the idea of, we can still extend Walker if we absolutely have to, if Morgan's just, not up to snuff. And the same thing at the guard position. We have multiple options there where we can decide, hey, is this guy worth extending and giving a contract, or do we have enough homegrown talent where we don't even have to worry about it, and we can actually skip the offensive line as a necessity going into next year's draft because we've been so good at it. So I think it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, definitely. H.E. Soder says, if Morgan is 90% of what you would get from Walker and Belton looks serviceable, do you move Walker? I don't like that idea personally, Soder, because, I mean, it depends on what the compensation is, right? Anyone can be bought. He's talking about moving. I'm assuming he's talking about trading. Let me read that again. If Morgan is 90% of what you would get from Walker and Belton, all right, looks serviceable, do you move Walker? If you're talking about moving Walker to another position, every offensive lineman that's come through Green Bay has got to be prepared to play multiple positions. I mean, they probably cross-train offensive linemen more than any other team in the league. How many times have we, laughed about how, well, they draft a tackle, he'll be playing guard, right? We've seen that over and over and over again. Now, if you're talking about trade, that's what he's saying. So he's saying trade, would you move him? It depends on the compensation. If I can get a third-round pick for Rasheed Walker, I'd be okay with it, because you did just spend a second-round pick on Belton, right? However, anything less than a third, man, I mean, again, why did we lose to Philly last year? Right? We talked about how we got our asses kicked in the trenches, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, where one injury caused us to start a gentleman by the name, or put a gentleman by the name of Travis Glover in at guard, where he played less than stellar, I believe, is what most people not named Emilio would say. So I like the idea of having that extra depth piece there. And also you give yourself a chance to potentially re-sign Rasheed Walker if he goes on and has a great year. If you get to week 6 or 7, Rasheed Walker has fought Jordan Morgan off at left tackle, right? And he's just absolutely dominant. His run blocking took a step forward. Who's to say we don't re-sign him and plan on moving on from ELGTON Jenkins, since we didn't have to extend him? So that's kind of how I see it, Solder. Anybody can be bought, right? In a trade, if the compensation is good enough, absolutely. Especially last year of the contract, you don't plan on re-signing them. But, man, I just don't want to put ourselves in a similar situation like we were in the playoffs, where obviously one injury and we're just in absolute turmoil. Although Emilio will probably disagree. How do you feel, though, Emilio, about that whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough situation to put him in, but I think that he can still excel. We just need to give him a better shot rather than the 13 snaps prior to throwing him in there. So
that's a fair point.
Yeah, and he's ready. You know, he knew that he kind of messed up. He wants to show and kind of prove his point and prove his worth to the team. He doesn't want to, leave that bad taste in the mouth. I love that. You got to keep grinding. You can't go back. I mean, he can't take those snaps back. So just keep moving forward and keep digging at it.
Yeah, to your point there, Emilio, William Herman in the chat says, imagine getting your first real playoff reps, having to block Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Milton Williams in a road playoff game. And that's such a great point. And by the way, it's NFL season when you start getting all these spams from watch NFL season live. We made it, baby. It's football season. It's football
time now.
Yeah, Golden Grams in the chat says Walker will command $20 million in free agency. I agree with that. At a minimum, probably. To be honest with you, if he hit the open market, he's probably going to get more than Tom. I know that sounds silly, but teams will overpay if somebody hits the open market. However, guess how much money we free up from ELGTON next year if we decide to move on? Over $20 million. So that money's there. It's sitting there next year. If Rasheed Walker balls out and you decide, all right, we're going to replace ELGTON with him, let's go draft a center or potentially kick Tom to center. Who knows what could happen there? I don't know how you feel about that, though, Jacob. What do you think? Is there a scenario where you could see Rasheed Walker getting extended, or do you think he's just walking in free agency now?
Yeah, as much as I wish that he wouldn't walk, I do think that the Walker is going to end up walking. And the money's too good. And I think that, not that he's not a team player or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, the difference of I think there honestly could be a drastic difference for, like you said, a team that's desperate, that looks at what he is as a pass protector and just says, I'm willing to give him a certain bag, especially if it fits an offense that they're a more pass heavy offense. It just seems to me more logically that he's going to end up going somewhere.
Yeah. Let's get some quotes here. Coming out from offensive coordinators, different positions, offensive line coach, the whole 9 yards. So offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich on Jordan Morgan, quote, I like what I'm seeing from Jordan, and he's competing at the tackle spot and the guard spot, and he's looking pretty solid. Stenavich also said, again, I'm really excited from what he's shown on tape from both positions, guard and tackle. Offensive line coach Luke Butkus from OTAs said just how athletic he is, how easy he moves, and how smooth it looks. I was just talking to Coach Gordon, and sometimes it looks like he's not straining or playing hard. I think it's just natural. It's easy for him to just move, to gain ground, to just skim the blades of the grass. It's effortless. So it's obvious that's what they've seen in him as his superpower, is that agility as a tackle. Factors limiting Morgan's tackle reps, however, you guys just keep swatting that spam down for me if you don't care. Try not to block a normal person, though, like I did that night. Injuries along the offensive line, such as ELGTON Jenkins' absence, moving Sean Ryan to center and opening right guard for Morgan, and Aaron Banks being out, leading to Morgan to fill in at left guard during Tuesday's practice. As the unit regains health, Stenavich expects to increase Morgan's reps at tackle to foster competition on the left side. Quote, on increasing competition, Stenavich said, we're kind of limited with Banks being out and ELGTON being out. We had to focus him more at guard, talking about Morgan, but we're going to work him in at tackle as much as possible just to get some competition out there on the left side and then just see how it goes. All right, now let's move on to Rasheed Walker's performance. Walker has not played poorly and has held the starting left tackle role for much of the past 2 seasons. Last season's stats allowed 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits that ranked 45th out of 87 eligible tackles in PFF's pass blocking efficiency and 65th in run blocking grade. So that's the one aspect right there, Emilio, that we see that doesn't look great. And again, it's not everything, right? But when you say, hey, look, you rank 45th out of 87 eligible tackles in PFF's pass blocking efficiency and then 65th in run blocking, I mean, that puts you at the halfway mark or even lower.
Right. Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, we do love Rasheed. His pass blocking, you would think, is there compared to these numbers, but he also takes some penalties that are rough. And thinking on the, him walking or not, wouldn't it be, if he does go in free agency, wouldn't we be getting a third for him? So, remember when you asked me that question the other night, either way we're getting a third for him, I got to have a first or a second or something out of it if I'm moving on from him in season.
That's a great point. You got to wait an extra year for the third, but you make a great point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just, I mean, if we have a talented tackle, all right, fine, keep him in. We'll chase that Super Bowl this year, whatever. But, I got to have more than one pick. It's got to be more than a third for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if that's Jacob over there swatting that spam away, but
dude, this is ridiculous.
You're quick.
He's sitting there with the finger, giving him the waggle.
Yeah,
it sucks. It's all I can decide. Now they got me mad. It's like whack-a-mole.
All right, quote on Rasheed Walker. Stenovich said on Walker, he's had a really good camp. There's a lot of stuff we wanted to work with him in the offseason. And you could tell he made a conscious effort to come back, and he was in great shape. He looked great. He's playing hard, and he's competing, and I think he's doing a really good job. So there's nothing negative there. I've heard some people say he's having a bad camp. I haven't seen that personally, other than having to run a lap and having some choice words there on the practice field that we will. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so broader offensive line competition. Well, first of all, before we move on from the Rasheed Walker and the Jordan Morgan competition here, Jacob, is there anything else you want to add to that? How do you see it shaking out? Let me end it with that. I'll ask both of you guys that same question.
I think that this is going to be somewhat of another, I hate saying a red shirt year kind of thing, but more of just him kind of slowly understanding that he's going to take over the left tackle position for Morgan. And then if there is some sort of injuries, I think that he'll basically slide into whatever position they ask him to. And I do honestly believe that Walker will end up leaving, taking quite a bit of money. I mean, we saw what John Runyon got, you know what I'm saying? So if a guy that is a left tackle that is an absolute stud pass protector, I just feel like that's the writing on the wall. And that between the Belton and even Glover, between Belton, Glover, Morgan, John Williams, if there's another one in there somewhere, that could pop up and all of a sudden impress us, then, I just think that we're going to let him go. It just is going to happen.
Gotcha. All right. Emilio, how do you think it's going to shake out at left tackle before we move on to just a little bit more offensive line talk?
Yeah. Just when they approached last year where they had Sean Ryan and Morgan rotating before the injury, I don't know if they might do that to Rasheed, if they really want Walker to try to, or if they really want Morgan to try to chase that spot, they really might rotate that. But I don't know if that's going to be, Matt's forte. I think he would still probably rather, keep Walker there, rotate Morgan and Ryan and kind of keep those two moving. But we just need 5 on there that are going to build the wall in front of Jay Love. That's all I really care about. If it is Walker, if it's Morgan, who cares? We need to protect that man, protect Josh Jacobs.
Got it. All right. So broader offensive line competition as we round this out and move on to the next segment. No positions are locked in, including Sean Ryan at right guard. The Packers are embracing competition to identify their best starting 5, believing it will elevate everyone's performance. They're open to rotating 6 or 7 players during games if the competition extends into the regular season, prioritizing getting the best performers on the field. I know a lot of people don't like that. They're talking about you got to build chemistry, you got to get into a groove, this and that. I think there's something to be said for these heavy rotations, like on defense. One of the reasons, in my opinion, that Brenton Cox Jr.'s pressure rate was so high was he wasn't eating up a whole lot of snaps. Like, he's constantly fresh coming off the bench, right? The same thing can be said for the offensive line. You know what I mean? Like, I know people didn't like the Jordan Morgan, Sean Ryan rotation, but think about that. If you're a defensive tackle, you're playing 3-tech, and you have to go up against that guy, and you're getting dog ass tired. Now all of a sudden you look up and there's a dude, his jersey's not even sweaty. And you're like, all right, let me start trying to wear this guy down now, right? Like, I think that's a real thing. I do. So, United Bates. Jacob has 173 arcade tickets. Probably can get a small pack of Swedish fish now at the counter. Talking about smacking this whack-a-mole with the spam in the chat. Again, man, I love it. I know you're working your ass off over there, Jacob, but I love it. This means it's football season, man. You know, that's what it means. So, quote on overall competition, Stenovich, quote, I wouldn't say any of these guys have anything locked up right now, and I think that's one thing that is good about where we're at, because the competitiveness is going to bring out the best in everybody every day. So I don't know how it's going to shake out up front, but I am excited about just the possibilities and the options that we have for sure. So they're obviously going the competitive route. I love it. I think it's the right move. I really do. So I'm excited to see how all that shakes out. All right, let's move it along now. Next topic.